So the $100 MBA is for anybody who's looking to understand business, be better at business, build a business, but is not really concerned about getting a piece of paper from a university.
This is Steve Atwell, and you're listening to Education Hackers. Today I have a man on the show who I think of as a content creation machine. That man is Omar Zenhom, and he is the co-founder of the $100 MBA, an alternative business education and community online. He's also the host of the iTunes Best of 2014 podcast, the $100 MBA Show. The $100 MBA Show's daily 10-minute business lessons receive over 15,000 daily listeners and was ranked the #1 new podcast on iTunes for 5 consecutive weeks during its debut. Omar utilizes his decade of experience in education and business to teaching others how to build businesses they are proud of. Omar, welcome to the show. I have to ask you this. Are you secretly a half-man, half-machine? Because, you produce such great content so frequently, producing it, recording it, editing it, publishing it. What is your secret? How do you do it?
Oh, thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me on the show. Great question. Well, first of all, I don't do this alone. I do this with my business partner and partner in life, Nicole Baldino. She really, really is a big part of the puzzle. So, and she does all the production. She does all their editing and video and podcast editing. So it's not just me who's doing all this stuff. But somewhere around a few years ago, I came to the realization that the content is really what I can offer, is what I could do. And the more content I can produce, quality content I can produce, the better I can become as a business person and as a contributor to this world. So a lot of people will get busy doing other stuff, and I think that you can do. And when I say you can do, is meaning that no one else can produce the content but yourself, because you're the person that's actually behind the content. You can outsource social media, you can outsource editing, you can outsource accounting, all that stuff. You can get somebody else to do all the busy work, and often we find ourselves doing. So you can focus only on producing content. That's really what I try to do, and use my time as much as I can. So I'm happy to hear that you're enjoying the content, but we're trying to take it to the next level in the coming year.
Yeah, I just can't believe how much content you produce. You produce weekly content, and it's just really, really useful content for anybody that's looking at improving their business, getting into some of the MBA type scenarios where you can actually use some of that education for your business. Tell me, what's your business background? Did you go to an Ivy League school and get a traditional MBA education?
Well, actually, I went to school to become an educator, to become a teacher. I did my bachelor's and then did my master's in teaching English as a second language. So my initial or first career was education. I taught for 6 or 7 years, and then I moved on to administration, became a teacher trainer. So that was my career. But while I was at that job and at that career, I was doing a lot of, quote unquote, side hustling. They just, they didn't have that term back then, but that's just what I did. I used to build businesses on the side online and help other people build their businesses. So I kind of learned the hard way and read a lot of books along the way, because when I got started back in 2000, there wasn't all the resources we have now online. There's no courses, there were no blogs, there was nothing there. There was no WordPress. So I read a lot of books. I have to mention, my father's in sales, so I grew up kind of knowing and understanding the sales world. But I actually, when I studied education because I wanted to get away as far as possible from like a commission-based kind of situation, because I wanted some stability. But as I grew in my profession, I started to get complacent. I really wanted to do more and build more and make something a little bit bigger than myself. So I decided to leave the educational world and start my own business. You asked me about education. I did attend Warren Business School when I was making that transition. I applied and got accepted. I was very excited about that. But after a semester there, my marketing professor actually recommended that I do drop out. He told me I really don't need to be here because, you only really need an MBA if you're looking to get a middle management job at Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley. And it kind of was like an eye-opener for me, because I was kind of thinking that I needed to get the degree to get credibility. I felt like no one's going to take me seriously if I don't have an MBA, but realized I can focus my efforts on building something that would get me credibility rather than trying to get a piece of paper. So that's kind of, my background.
It's amazing that most middle management require traditional MBA program. When you really, like if you're starting your own business and you just want the practical side of things and you just want the information that you need for your business, you don't necessarily need to go into an MBA program. So what qualifies you to be the expert in business and teaching others?
That's a good question. A couple of reasons. One, I'm a trained educator. I know how to teach. I know how to put a curriculum together. This is what I went to school for 6 years. A master's and and a bachelor's as well as other certifications that you have to have as a teacher. Training and assessment certificates, things like that. I don't think you can say the same about most people online. And that's not to say that people that are putting courses together need to have an educational background. I just have that advantage. And if you can know something, but if you can't teach it or convey that information to somebody in a way that they can comprehend it, then it really has no value. So that's one thing. The other thing is that, I've built many businesses and I've had my successes and failures, lost a lot of money and time, but I've learned along the way how to do it right, the hard way, unfortunately. And I share those experiences on the podcast. I share those experiences inside the $100 MBA, and I share the experiences of others as well. We interview other entrepreneurs in our field, and that's included inside the $100 MBA. So along the fact that I was in the position, the reason why I created the $100 MBA, or we decided to build it, is because I didn't want people to go through the agony and learn the hard way like I did. There's got to be a way. I wanted to have a concise course where people can kind of get the fundamentals they need so they can move on and start building instead of wondering if they're doing something right or wrong. So the course was built with that in mind, and it was built to avoid all the the agony I went through. So
what drives you, Omar? Because you seem like a driven man.
A lot. I really enjoy what I do. So a lot of people say you work so hard when you take a break. I enjoy it. So it's not like I need a break from it sometimes. I mean, obviously we get burnt out and you should, get the right sleep and take time off. I'm always thinking about the business. I'm always thinking about helping my audience and doing different things in the future. Even when I'm on vacation, some of the best ideas we come up with is when we're off. I'm very, the reason why I do what I do is because I'm very driven in terms of like feeling like I'm contributing to society. I feel like I want to have some sort of significance in this world. I'm interested in building a legacy rather than just product that sells. I want to be able to have a body of work that I can look back on and say that, people can benefit from in the future. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what drives me, is just kind of, what am I doing with what I'm building? What is that? What kind of significance will it have in this world?
Before we get into your online course, I want to ask you when you find the time to relax and how you unwind. What do you like to do in your downtime?
Nicole and I really enjoy watching movies. I really love a good film. A part of that is, Nicole went to New York Film Academy. She's a film buff herself, and we just enjoy a good story. And there's a lot you can learn from just watching a film. And it's just a lot of fun to have the discussion afterwards, to talk about, I just saw this film, Birdman, with Michael Keane, which was really good. And it's just one of those films that you just have to talk about afterwards and really enjoy and see it on different levels. So I love a good film. I love sport. I like to play basketball in my free time and go to the gym. But like in terms of a complete R&R, I'm a beach guy. I like to just take a nap on the beach and hear the sound of the ocean and maybe read a book or something like that. But that's kind of how I relax.
Yeah, sounds good. You need to have that downtime. Before you created your online course, did you have a passion that was different, something that you really felt strongly about and did not pursue?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, the whole concept of me going full-time as an entrepreneur was something that I was toying with in my head for a decade or so while I was in education. And it was kind of like, should I do it? Well, I have a secure job. I'm moving up. I'm getting promotions. Maybe this is just a dream. It's not really that secure. So for a very long time, that was my situation. I mean, if you asked that question 5 years ago, I would have told you, being a full-time entrepreneur. So now that I'm doing it full-time, it's kind of like I wanted to do it just because I thought, anything's better than having regrets. Anything's better than, the current situation. So I just wanted to kind of go for it. For me, I have a very holistic picture. Like, I just want to be a very good business person, a very good entrepreneur. And when I say very good, I mean not only in terms of, the bottom line and making money, but also in terms of contributing to the world, contributing to and just trying to put something out there of value. And for me, that's really what it's down to. And I just want to kind of do that without having any regrets. So that's like the complete picture. So if I have projects that fail, that's fine. I'm still going for that picture. I'm still going for that goal. If things go great, that's also good.
So, Omar, let's talk about your online course, $100 MBA. I must say that's a very catchy name. If we look at some big name Ivy League schools, they charge a lot of money for a traditional MBA program. I know there was a discounted MBA program that a university came out with that was about $10,000. But normally we are looking at in excess of like $30,000 with big name universities. But how much of what these universities cover in their curriculum do you cover in your $100 MBA? Give us a bird's eye view of your $100 MBA course. What do you cover? Who's it for? And why should people be signing up for it?
Sure. The $100 MBA, the first reason why we called it the $100 MBA is because we wanted to make sure it's accessible to everybody who, has $100, which is a good amount of the population. We want to make sure that this is not exclusive. At the end of the day, we do need to make money to keep afloat and to make a profit. But the point is, I remember I went to Wharton for a semester, and the statistic for my graduating class, if I graduated, was that graduating class would be $1 billion in debt. And I just thought that was just ridiculous to learn business. So the $100 MBA is for anybody who's looking to understand business, be better at business, build a business, but is not really concerned about getting a piece of paper from a university. So they're really just concerned about getting the information and the skills and the support they need that they would get in an MBA. And the way I boil it down is that, if you go to business school, you get three things. One, you get the education, the content. Two, you get the network of people that you meet and later on maybe you can work with in the future. And three, you get a piece of paper that says to the employer that you're going to apply for a job that, hey, I understand business, hire me. This institution says I'm good, right? So the way we approach the $100 MBA is that one, we are going to give you a content and useful practical content because a lot of the information is outdated and it's not as up to date as it should be in business school. As Seth Godin says, business schools have a monopoly on business education from the 90s. So we really are looking to give as much content as possible that is useful. So the second part was, the networking possibilities. So the $100 MBA has a community aspect where we have a community forum and a Facebook group, and you can ask questions anytime under any video lesson. So we're really, really into kind of giving as much as possible in terms of engagement and a chance for you to meet and make connections that can last a lifetime and make friends that are in the same boat as you, trying to build things, trying to do things. And lastly, I mentioned that, you need that piece of paper to get a job, but if you're an entrepreneur looking to build something for yourself, that paper is really useless. You don't really need to pay all that money for that certification. So that's really what the $100 MBA is all about, is kind of covering all those bases as much as possible in the most practical way as possible. So just to give a quick overview of what the $100 MBA actually is or includes, is we have two categories of courses. We have core courses and then we have extracurricular courses. And the core courses are really the fundamentals of what an MBA would cover. And what we do is we infuse practical examples and practical exercises for you to do for yourself if you are actually building your own thing. So every course will come with a workbook that you would work on while you're doing the course, as well as implementing the exercises that are real world exercises that you would do to help build your business or build your business expertise. So the core courses are and the first course is Business Essentials, which is one of our most popular courses because it really talks about the approach of how to create something that somebody actually wants, the need in the market, things like that. We also have a course called Creating Your Offer, which is about creating what your offer is just your business, what you're offering the world. We have Delivering Your Offer, which is another course. We have a Marketing 101 course. We have a Sales course. We have a Fundamentals of Finance course. We have a Management and Leadership course. We have an Entrepreneurship course, which talks about like how your world and life will change when you become an entrepreneur, some of the mistakes you should avoid as an entrepreneur. And all these come with workbooks. We have over 180 lessons, and they're all video-based. And again, like I said, Nicole is a New York Film Academy graduate, so they're all high quality, and they're all very much, at a pro standard.
That seems like a lot of content, 180 video lessons. Plus you have workbooks and you have a private membership forum. When you produce new lessons, how and where do you come up with the ideas for these lessons?
That's a good question because we have the core courses, and that's what we launched with. And then we started with extracurricular courses, which are separate from the core courses. And these courses are more have to do with as you're building a business, as you're building an organization, what you need to do. And these courses came from our actual students who would request, hey, I'm struggling with this, I need help with this, or I would love a course on this. And if we heard it frequently, we said, okay, we need to build a course on this. And some of this is marketing an online business or building a service-based business, which is a huge course some people join the $100 MBA just for that course because they're a photographer, they're a videographer, they're a graphic designer, and there's not a lot out there online now that serves the service-based person who has to exchange their time for money. It's not a product-based world. So we created a course for those people, and we have templates they can use for invoicing and receipts and things like that, so they can use that. So it's a great kind of extracurricular course for people that need that, and it comes from our students. We also have one on Google Analytics. We have one on webinars. We have a whole bunch of different courses that people have requested, and we produce them based on the need.
Wow, that's a lot of courses, a lot of different courses. That's all included in the $100 MBA program?
Yeah, they're all included. It's $100 for a lifetime membership. We also have interviews. We have video interviews with just entrepreneurs I really admire or like and just interested in what they're doing, and they basically just talk about what they're good at, their strengths, and how they use their strengths in their business. And there's a lot of lessons in there in just the conversations we have. So we have people like Gary Vaynerchuk on, and we have a lot of different kind of entrepreneurs from different fields.
Wow. So these 180 videos, how are they organized? Is there a structure to the lessons where each one builds on a previous one?
Exactly, yeah. So the 8 core courses, we recommend that you go in order. We give people that guidance when they join. We actually have an orientation course when people sign up. It's the first thing that they're led to is basically how to get oriented, how to use the $100 MBA. There's no ambiguity about it. As soon as they go through the checkout process, the first thing they see is a welcome video from me and Nicole, and it says, thanks for signing up. This is what we're all about. Press the button below to start your orientation. And there's a whole separate orientation course which walks them through exactly how to get set up, how to find the courses, which course you should start with. And we kind of just walk them by the hand, so there's no confusion in where to go. Obviously, if somebody wants to jump around, that's up to them, but we do give the recommended outline.
So who is the target audience for this course? Who's the target student for this course?
Well, the target student is anybody who really wants to build a business or just wants a better understanding of business. So it's really focused on the business builder. So somebody who's starting something, they're writing an ebook, they're building a course on whatever they would like to and make a business around that. They're building a software business. So we have different types of students from around those different types of genres. So it's really focused on entrepreneurship, people that want to build their own thing. But we do have people that are in a management job or just got a promotion and they just want to understand business a little bit better so they can, do better at their job, and they sign up for that. But the majority of the people that are in the $100 MBA are people that are trying to build something for themselves.
So with this course, are you following what might be covered in a traditional MBA program, or is the focus more on practicality and how to apply business principles in real life scenarios?
Well, I say a little bit of both because there are things in an MBA program that you should know about business. You should know about finance, how to break even. You have to understand how to your expenses and your overhead and how to calculate that. And you need to understand how to what is marketing? Well, how do you market your product? How do you create a system within your business that is continuous marketing strategy? You need to understand what sales is and how do you actually have a sales process, be it online or offline. There's concepts that a lot of people, a lot of our students that joined the $100 MBA, they've taken other courses or they've started something already. They have a business running or they try to start a blog. And what happens is they say, hey, I started something, but then I realized I need to understand business. I don't understand how to do these things. I don't understand these concepts. And that's when they join the $100 MBA and they realize, okay, yeah, just like a doctor needs to understand medicine to practice medicine, I need to understand business to practice business.
So I'm just wondering, have you seen cases where the $100 MBA course has helped people land jobs at companies where they would normally require an MBA from a traditional university?
To be quite honest, we didn't hear that from our students. It could have happened, but we don't know. But to be honest with you, no, but we've had a lot of students come to us and they're part of our membership, they're part of our forum, and they update us on how they've been building their businesses. And there's people who are making a regular living on the businesses they built based on the education they had on the $100 MBA. And we have some of those people. And we also have people that are working on their business while they're on their job and how the $100 MBA is helping them, transition out of their job. And some of those testimonials are on the sales page.
So before you created the course, how did you determine that there was a need for the course?
That was a good question because I, first of all, was blogging on a site that we built, which is our umbrella company, Business Republic. And I was writing a lot of articles about various topics. I just wanted to see what would resonate with people. And anytime I wrote anything about, what I learned through my experience, if I got got specific about some of the things I've been learning about marketing or sales or some of the lessons I've learned along the way. And then I started blogging more about, I'm thinking about building this course that will allow people to have a great foundation on how to build a business. I would get a lot of great reaction from, the comments, and I would get emails and people would say, yes, I would love to have that. So I kind of started to get some feelers out, and I realized that this is something that people really needed and wanted from my existing audience. And then I kind of looked at what's out there. I wanted to see, is there anything available that would fulfill that need, but maybe people just didn't know about. And I really didn't find something that was what I was thinking about creating, so I decided to create it. And sometimes you're really not going to know if the thing's going to take off 100% for sure until you actually try it. So we launched in a very lean startup fashion, meaning had a minimal viable offer. And what the $100 MBA looked like when we launched looks very much different than what it is today. But we wanted to kind of put something out there to get some feedback.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of companies are doing that now when they're testing to see if a product is viable and people do want it. So let's assume that I'm one of your new students and I've just purchased your course. I don't know much about business or what an MBA might entail. What would you recommend is the best way to use the material covered in the $100 MBA course?
I would, we definitely have this system inside the $100 MBA, which is, you implement right away what you learn, because as a teacher and as an educator, that's what I learned is very effective with teaching. Is it's called an input-output method. Where basically, I do not go on until I make sure what I gave you, you can produce. So if I, for example, if you remember when you were a kid, you learned long division. So you would have the equation and you would say, okay, how many times does 4 go into 26? Okay, how many times? Okay, and then that's step 1. You don't move on to step 2 until you actually complete step 1 and you show the teacher that step 1 is completed. That's a very oversimplistic example, but that's how people learn. That's how people comprehend. And you can't learn a concept that has other concepts built into them or things that ride upon what you just learned until you make sure you master the thing before that. Because if you screw up along the way, you don't know where you really messed up. You need to really know things as you're growing. So what we do in the 100 LB is that we teach a concept and then we have a workbook that goes along with it. And the workbook is an exercise to help you implement what you just learned. So for example, we talk about, growing your audience. And one of the ways you can grow your audience is that you go and you borrow an audience from another person that's in your industry. So you can do a guest post or you can be a guest on a podcast like I am right now. So one of the exercises is like to list, 5 blogs that you may approach for a guest post. And what you can do is we recommend that you write the post first and you submit it to them. And we tell them to go ahead and do that. And once you finish submitting that and try to get a guest post out, next thing is to make sure that you have a lead, you have a way to lead them to a page that welcomes them at the end of the post. And we walk them through them step by step in the workbook what they need to do. So that's kind of what we do is we make sure that you implement what we learn. You go ahead and do it. Once you've got that done, then the next step would be do this because it can get overwhelming if I tell you everything at once.
It looks like you have a complete system, a step-by-step guide in your system there. That's the kind of way that I learned growing up in the UK. We had a really structured way of learning. So my listeners are people who are either just starting to create their first online course or trying to figure out ways to improve their existing course. And some of these questions may help answer their questions. And some of those questions include the following, which is, what was the biggest mistake you made when you first started creating your online course, the $100 MBA?
I want to say not starting earlier, but, I think that'd be one. I think the other mistake would be probably assuming that I would need to have a larger product in order to launch. I assumed that in order to sell that it had to be this huge thing. We actually launched with 8 courses. We now have over 13 courses, but we had 8 courses that we launched with. I probably could have launched with less and I would have been able to release it earlier and get more feedback. And what happened is it's kind of like building a house. I built a house or I built a building and I built like 6 levels. And then I launched it and realized, level 4 and level 5 are useless, but I need level 6. So now I got to demolish 4, 5, and 6 so I can build, upon what I have. So that's one of the things is I did launch lean, but I didn't understand the real meaning of lean until I actually launched and realized, hey, I could have actually launched in a different way. So a lot of people feel like they have to have this grand product, this grand thing, when really they don't need to. They can launch with one course inside the program and then launch, or release every 2 weeks or every month another course to the program. So it doesn't need to be this huge grand thing, have all the bells and whistles. I know somebody else who actually launched a really good course called 30 by 500, Amy Hoy. They launch products that have no way to, like, when they launched, they didn't have a way to recover passwords or something like that, but they said, we'll just deal with it manually when we launch. Right now, that's not really important. Right now, it's just getting the content out, getting people to understand that this is beta. This is a way for you to feel and touch and understand the course and then give us feedback so we can make it better. So that's probably your answer there.
I always ask if people have a workflow. When you're creating your course, did you have a workflow? How did you determine what to include and what not to include?
We launched on December 3rd, 2013, and we started working on this like full-time 100%. We were planning and we were building and we were sketching, but we actually at the time we were taking on client work, and we just said we took no more clients from October to launch. So we had 2 solid months of just working on the MBA. We did nothing else. I had no day job. By that time, I quit my job, and Nicole as well. So 24/7. I think we only took 2 days off. So 7 days a week. We worked on the MBA, shooting, editing, scripting, getting everything ready on the website, the sales process, payment processing. So basically, we started out with a massive to-do list, and we just divvied up the tasks, who's going to do what and how, and deadlines for each one. And we prioritize them, which ones are important. So it's safe, because we're not going to move the launch date. That's what we said. December 3rd is the day we're going to launch regardless of the way it is. So basically, in order for this thing to work, those things were first. So the website needs to be up there. People had to be able to, accept payment and be able to create their own, username and password, all that stuff. Now, what ended up being last was the courses and the videos and the workbooks and all that stuff, because we said if we don't finish that up, it's okay. The content, we can keep putting in the content, but if we don't have the system in place, the actual website, then we can't launch. And we didn't want to move the launch day. We wanted to we made it public to everybody that this is when we're launching. We had a pre-launch system where we promoted and people got discounts if they were on our list earlier before the launch. And so and also part of that pre-launch was a lot of marketing. We had 4 different launch videos that led to the $100 MBA's launch day. So that was something that we had to have done before we actually launched as well. So we just prioritized, what's most important, what we have to launch with, and we just worked at it every day. I don't even remember. It's a blur to me. I don't remember those 2 months, but we worked really hard and we made it happen, and we're happy we did that.
So it took you about 2 months from initial idea to launching the $100 MBA course?
I wouldn't say initial idea. We had a lot of notes, a lot of meetings, a lot of outlines, but nothing was really built in terms of the content. Like no videos were shot, no website was built, no marketing materials were made. So from 2 months, but again, we took 2 days off those 2 months, and it was 7 days a week. I think it was like 14-hour days. I can't remember. So
wow. Yeah, those are long, long days. And when you're trying to meet a deadline and you've set a deadline, and that's a good approach. That's what I tell people. If you're trying to create something, set a deadline and just make sure you meet it. So what platform are you using to host your course, and why?
We currently use Paid Memberships Pro, which is our membership plugin. We like it because, one, our first concern was to make sure that we can use Stripe, and Stripe was our payment processor that we want to use. We have used them in the past, and we really enjoy them. We think they're great. So we use Paid Membership Pro because at the time when we launched, there were very few membership plugins that use Stripe. Now there's plenty, but and it's also very flexible. I'm a bit of a techie guy, so I can it's not Paid Membership Pro is not the kind of plugin that you'd use if you don't know your way around WordPress and PHP and things like that. So I would definitely go with something else if you're not that tech savvy and you don't want to tinker around. But we love it. It works for us perfectly, and so that's the plugin we use. The website itself It's a bit of a hodgepodge, Frankenstein, some coding, some themes, some plugins that we created ourselves. There's certain things like we wanted a feature on our dashboard inside the memberships area where it displayed the last lesson that they were on. So when you go into your dashboard, it says, the last lesson that you were on is this, just in case you forgot, you can click a button and go directly to your last lesson. I couldn't find a plugin that would do that. I couldn't find anybody. So I just hired a programmer and got it built myself. So that's kind of what we've done in terms of the platform itself. A lot of the graphic design and things like that are done by me myself. I like to use Photoshop, and something I learned along the way in building businesses. And all the marketing materials, the videos are all Nicole. So she shot. I help her, script it, and I'm in the videos. I'm teaching in the $100 MBA. So yeah, that's kind of how we put together.
Yeah, Paid Memberships Pro, for anybody that's listening in, is free. They do have a membership, a support membership that if you do need some support and you have run into any issues or problems, I think it's like $99 a year. And with Stripe, the Stripe is a little bit more complicated than PayPal. With PayPal, you just get some code, put it on your website, and there's nothing else you really need to do. With Stripe, you do need an SSL certificate. I mean, it works well with Paid Memberships Pro, but you do need an SSL certificate. So why did you go with your own platform as opposed to, say, something more public like Udemy or Skillshare?
That's a good question, because I personally do not. I believe a website's your asset. It's an asset. People can sell websites. I mean, there's a whole industry where people buy and sell domains and buy and sell websites and businesses. And I believed in building my own asset. I don't want to build information or a brand or a product on somebody else's ground. A lot of our students will ask, well, hey, I'm thinking about just starting a Facebook page and building an audience that way rather than a blog. And I often discourage them, because you don't own Facebook. You're a visitor on Facebook's land. Facebook changes their laws or their ways or gets bought out, whatever. You do not have control over that. I mean, a good example is that Tumblr recently, changed the way they configure images, and a lot of people's whole pages broke and their blog went down and they lost all their traffic. So, it's sad, but you're on Tumblr's account. That's not your website.
Well, even with Facebook, they can shut down your private forum anytime they like. You don't have any control over it.
Yeah. So, I do use Udemy. We have a free course on Udemy, actually, that has over 2,000 members, students on there. And I use it just to generate traffic and generate interest and market our hometown, our course at $100 MBA. I really, really believe in building your own assets, and that's why I decided to build it on my own website.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people. If you do offer a private Facebook group or some other public-facing platform that you're creating some private forum on, make sure you start with your own platform first, your own website first, and then offer that as an add-on, as a free add-on. In terms of hosting the videos for your course, are you hosting them on your website or Vimeo or YouTube or somewhere else?
We actually use Wistia. Wistia is not the cheapest option. It's probably the most expensive option out of all of them. But we really love Wistia. They're great when it comes to analytics. For us, stats and statistics are very important for us, because we want to know where in the course are people dropping off, where in the video are they repeating, rewinding, and needing clarification. Are they continuing and watching every video in the course or just watching the first couple? And so Wistia is the only one I can find that actually gives all that information and does it in a very coherent way. So we love Wistia. That's what we use.
And how do you market your course? What's been most successful? Your podcast, social media, blog posts, webinars, or something else?
I'm a big fan of doing a lot of content marketing. So there's a few things that we've done in the past that have worked. One, we have the podcast, the $100 MBA podcast, which is a daily podcast, like you mentioned, and that has really helped us get awareness. iTunes was gracious enough to give us that Best of iTunes award in 2014. So it's given us a lot of exposure, and it's given a lot of people a chance to get a taste of what we're all about for free. And a lot of people have come into the 100 MBA, have come through the podcast. But we also, I like to blog, I like to write, I like to, so our blog brings a lot of people in as well. I do a lot of guest blogging as well. I guest blog on different blogs, and I like to guest blog on, websites that you normally wouldn't think I would. People might think I would go on other business podcasts, other business, blogs, but, I guest blog on like digital photography school, photographers, and I write a post about how to go pro as a photographer, how to make a business out of your art. And it's one of our biggest traffic revenues, is our traffic sources. I have an article about, about that topic that has over 20,000 shares. So like sometimes you just need to kind of think outside the box and who can benefit from what I have to say or what I have to offer that is not in a space that's crowded with people just like me. So I do a lot of that as well. And webinars is a big part of our formula as well. We do a lot of webinars to just give a chance for people to get to know us, ask questions, and really be a part of our community.
It seems like you're everywhere. You also are pushing your podcast down through a traditional radio station somewhere, right?
Yeah. In France, we're syndicated in France now. So if you're in France right now listening to this podcast, 9:00, you can hear us on the radio. So it's been fun, growing the podcast. The podcast has been a real treat. It's been a real fun ride. We have incredible, faithful listeners that we really love, and it's been good.
Yeah, you are everywhere, man. So that's excellent. Looking back, what was the one tool, software or hardware that you absolutely needed to create your online course?
Well, given the fact that we are video-based and we do pride ourselves on high-quality videos that are engaging and fun, we use Final Cut X, which is Apple's like video software, video editing software, and Nicole is a master at it, and it really helps us create an engaging experience, with our students, not only inside the 100 MBA, but also marketing the 100 MBA. If you see the sales video or any of the videos that we've had in our free courses, it really gives a taste of the quality that you're going to get, that these people are not only about, teaching you something, but also trying to keep it engaging, keep it fun, keep it light. One of the things I learned as a educator and as a student, if you remember when you were a kid, you enjoyed the classes you had fun in, and the teachers that were cool with you and that were funny and, that made it enjoyable and it wasn't laborious. So we try to include that all in our videos, and Final Cut really helps us do that.
Yeah, you must have high quality videos with somebody who's a film school graduate there.
Yeah, I got lucky.
So, Omar, take a few minutes and offer your best, most practical advice to anyone thinking of creating their first online course or training.
Focus on what are you really trying to do? Like, don't give a simplistic answer. Like, say, for example, I am doing a course on carpentry, right? I love carpentry. I love creating things out of wood. I want to teach other people how to do that, right? You should not stop there. You should not say, okay, this course is about carpentry. What about carpentry? Why should I care about you? What about you and your course that's going to be different? Are you going to talk about like how to become, sufficient, or is it the first few steps? Are you somebody that does funny things with your carpentry? You make crazy things you never thought of, like sculptures, or I don't know, like coat hangers that look like moose or something like, whatever. Like, are you quirky in a different way? What differentiates you in a different way? Why would I, as somebody who might be interested in carpentry, go ahead and take your course? And that's really, you might think that's marketing, but it's also the way you're packaging and the way you're delivering your course. You could think of that. Think of how you're going to be able to differentiate yourself from other people, because even if you don't have competitors now, you will have competitors in the future. So that's one thing. The other thing is focus on the value you're offering. For me, the only way I know how to be successful is to give as much as I can, is to give everything I know, is to share everything I have, because otherwise, some people, they withhold information or they just keep it for a rainy day or for the next course. You'll grow as a person. You'll think of other things to contribute to your course. So just give as much as you can, much value you can, and people will value it. One of the things that people say when they join the 100 LBA is, this is worth $100 a month. This is worth, a lot more money than just $100. Why don't you charge more? And for us, it's just, that's what we want. We want people to sign up and say, wow, this is a fantastic value. You've won me over. Whatever you're coming out in the future, I want to know about. So just focus on giving as much value as possible.
Great advice, Omar. Thank you so much. So you have some other exciting news to tell our listeners. You have a Webinar Ninja platform. Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So we have been very interested in webinars in the last year or so, Nicole and I, and we've been actually studying it for some time. And we beta launched a software that helps you market and run webinars. And so we took a step back and we reevaluated what's going on in the webinar world and what's out there. What are your choices if you want to run a webinar? Why would you run a webinar? How do you run a webinar? What are the benefits in business and marketing and things like that? So we're doing a few things. We're taking a holistic point of view to the webinar world, and we're launching a podcast about webinars called Webinar Ninja. And it's just about the world of webinars. It's a documentary-style podcast where we'll be talking to a lot of different people that are doing webinars, like, John Lee Dumas made a 1.5 million last year. And I'm also talking to people that struggled with webinars and why they struggled and what they don't like about it. And the process of this actual podcast is so I can learn more about the world. And we've already kind of taken, a real dive into this and produced a lot of the show already. And with this information, we're producing the best product possible, which is our Webinar Ninja platform, which will help people use webinars to market and sell their products. So it's interesting because we really want to be able to provide a complete solution. When I say complete, it's not just the software, but also the training. A lot of people, they want to be sold on webinars, the concept, and not just the actual, software. And that's funny because when I launched the software, I thought I needed to market features. But then I realized people are really not concerned about the software. The software solves you a problem. What they're really concerned about is, how do I actually give a webinar? What do I say on this thing? How do I promote it? How do I make sure no one that somebody shows up and I have somebody to talk to? So these are the things that we're going to be delving into the podcast. And then obviously within the actual software, we're going to be having a lot of training that will help you actually deliver great, great webinars. And we're going to have templates. We're going to have, different PowerPoint slides you can use. We're going to create a community of people that are really trying to do something different with webinars. And we have some surprises in the software that are a little bit different than what you would normally see in a webinar software that's out there. We're actually taking a different approach. We're trying to take a look at how you can use webinars to do different things like, content market, how you can use it for coaching calls and how you can use it for, a lot of people are into video marketing. Well, there's a lot that's not being used when it comes to webinars, when it comes to video. So I'll save that for the podcast, and you can check out more information at webinarninja.co.
Yeah, sounds like exciting stuff coming down the pipeline there. And webinars are definitely taking off. Everybody's doing a webinar these days, and anything that can help us create better, more powerful webinars is excellent. It's awesome. So you also have an event coming up, the first National Webinar Conference. Tell us a bit about that.
So part of the project of Webinar Ninja is that we want to create a better understanding or education around webinars, and we wanted to bring a lot of people together and so they can share their tactics, their ideas. And this is not something that I made up. This is something that I learned in the education world. When I was in education as an administrator, as a teacher trainer, as a teacher, we had conferences that we had to attend as part of an institution. And when you go to these conferences, you basically trade secrets. You trade, what do you do in this situation with a student? Oh, here's a great lesson you can use to teach this concept, And this is a great way for you to network, to get to know other people, and just build a repertoire and get, more tricks in your bag. And we really wanted to do the same thing for webinars, because essentially what a webinar is you're teaching. You're actually presenting information and building trust with your audience in order for them to build trust with your business. So I wanted to create the same kind of atmosphere for webinars, and we're doing that in late September. We are confirming the venue, but you can learn more about Webinar Ninja Live, the actual event, at webinarninja.co/live. And it's going to be really exciting. Part of this is just getting a little bit more practical and understanding what makes a great webinar. I'm speaking to a lot of different people, like my 7th grade history teacher, who was fantastic. And what makes a great teacher? I'm talking to old colleagues. I'm talking to great presenters and public speakers like, Michael Port. So there's a lot of different things that we're trying to do with Webinar Ninja, and one of them is the live conference.
Exciting stuff coming down the pipeline. That sounds like a great event, by the way. So, Omar, we have reached the end of the show. I could ask you more questions about your course, but I think it's best if people checked out the show notes where they will find a link to your course and all the other products we talked about in this episode. Thank you very much for being an amazing guest on the show and for sharing such valuable insights and advice. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you. Where can people connect with you online?
Thanks, Steve, and thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. People can connect with me online. They can see what we're working on at the $100 MBA, 100mba.net. On Twitter is the best kind of platform I'm on, and my handle is at BizRepublic, B-I-Z Republic. And if anybody has any questions or want to email me directly, I do reply personally, and you can email me at omar@100mba.net. So hopefully, I'll get back in a timely manner, but I do reply.
If you enjoyed this episode, just subscribe to the podcast and future episodes will be downloaded automatically for you. Check out the show notes at educationhackers.com to get links to resources we talked about in this episode. See you next time.